You bought it because you think you have all this beachfront to yourself and you paid a price.
So where's the balance?
Yeah. All righty. Shall we?
Let's do it. Well, welcome to Paul and Saul. I'm Saul.
I'm Paul.
And we are your local news guys that are going to tell you what's going on here locally. But first, we want to give a couple of shout outs.
Yep.
First and foremost to CCB Community Bank for these sweet hats.
Yes, we got their hat. They sent them to us and we are wearing them.
And then thank you to everybody who has donated to Mid-Bay News or started a subscription to Mid-Bay News here in the last week. We're really thankful for you, and it helps us to put stuff like this on the air because it costs money. Well, now that we've gotten all of the housekeeping out of the way, besides this beautiful new sign.
We got a new sign here in our Movement Mortgage Studios.
That's exactly right. And so we're excited by all the things that are changing and getting bigger and more exciting. But let's go into the very first thing that's probably going to take up most of our time today.
Okay, let's do it. I'm ready.
On Monday, I went to the courthouse, Crestview Courthouse, and asked for the second time to get the order that was put in by Judge David Oberleisen about Dylan Deschaine, Stand Your Ground. If you don't know who Dylan Deschaine is, he's currently accused of killing Mike Ledford last February. And so this has been going on for a while. And so the judge heard initially a Stand Your Ground hearing on April the 2nd. The prosecution, the defense gave their arguments, and he put in his order saying, no,
Denied.
we're not going to dismiss this case.
They're not dismissing it.
For a lot of different reasons. And the 14-page motion kind of covers all of it. But I mean, it's an interesting and long read. Kind of covers the first pieces of, hey, here's what happened at that hearing, and then goes into his assessment. And the assessment has, I think, 3 or 4 kind of discrete points.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote down his analysis on why he thinks it was not a stand your ground case. And I mean, you and I can discuss whether we think it's valid or not.
And I think we should.
Right.
But just so you know what this means, it doesn't mean that he's guilty or he's innocent. Or what this means is the case is not dismissed.
Right. It's got to go to a jury eventually.
Eventually, we'll go to a jury. It will be that's if he doesn't, plea out or they don't come to some sort of agreement. Right. There's a lot of things that could happen in between that.
Right.
But the first thing that the court, and I've ridden through this and highlighted this, so I apologize if it's taking me a long time to go through all this, but I think it's kind of important that we go through each one. The first thing it says, court finds the video evidence contradicts the defendant's testimony that he was afraid after the initial altercation. So if you read our story from about 2 weeks ago,
right.
Deshane testified at this hearing that he was afraid for his life. He begged, Ledford to not try to attack him, not to harm him because he has a kid. He's afraid. And the crux of that was like, hey, I'm afraid, and therefore I can use stand your ground as a defense. Right. The judge ruled against that because he basically said that Deshane's testimony was not credible in this instance. He talks about how Deshane testified that he used what are deemed in legalese fighting words.
Right.
And because of that reason, Ledford came back and came to beat him up. And when he beat him up, Deshane pulled a knife. And therefore, Oberleisen, at least in this opinion, says like, hey, you're not entitled to stand your ground because you made it.
Yeah, you did enough verbally and through your actions to not warrant a stand your ground case. So that super interesting because I think if you watch the video, right, the Ledford drives this truck over, and I guess what the judge is saying is Dylan didn't keep walking away or try to flee, that he actually walked back towards the truck. And that sort of showed that he wasn't necessarily afraid for his life in that moment and that he was part of the instigation.
He was a willing participant in what could have been a fist fight, is I think the judge's argument.
Sure.
Of course, I'm not in his head. All I have is this. But the next piece of this that I think is really interesting is how much credibility Judge Oberleisen gave to Jonathan DeMastri. DeMastri was a eyewitness to the attack, and DeMastri very much believes that Deshane attacked Ledford.
Right.
So he says that Deshane jumped on Ledford's back and then attacked him, according to his testimony in court on April the 2nd.
Right.
And so because of his being an eyewitness, the judge says, hey, I find you to be a credible witness. He says,
there's enough gray. It wasn't black and white. There's enough gray that this needs to either go to trial or somehow be pleaded out.
Yes. And then let's see, cutting through. Two things on this page. Although a criminal defendant has no obligation to tell law enforcement everything, it's highly doubtful, and this is reading from the opinion, that the defendant would talk as much as he did about the incident without being questioned, but never mention the gun to law enforcement, his mother, nor his cellmates to whom he explained it happened. So in this piece, I mean, Deshane, he's basically saying, you have a right to keep your mouth shut. You have a right to the Fifth Amendment, but you didn't use that. And when you didn't use that, you didn't talk about this gun that all of a sudden your attorney is talking so very much about.
Yeah. I mean, there was a gun involved. Ledford's gun was found, I guess, on the floorboard of the truck. And Dylan said he saw it, or that he was brandishing it. And that was part of the reason why he was afraid for his life. But that the judge is saying that he never said that to the police previously, and that this really hadn't come up as an issue until his lawyer brought it up.
And the fact that, like, he had talked so very much. I mean, you can go and watch his body cameras, the body camera video of the various police officers and sheriff's deputies that were there, and he's talking a lot and saying some pretty crazy stuff. Right. But he never mentions a gun. It's kind of the issue on that.
Yep. Yeah, I get it.
And then they cite Florida Statute 776.0122, which says, however, quote, in most cases, a person in a fistfight lacks a sufficient justification to use deadly force. So the judge here is saying, hey, if you're in a fistfight, and they, I guess, considered this a fistfight when he came back. So the second, where the altercation where he was cut, they're saying, hey, you're not allowed to kill somebody if you're in a fist fight.
I did not know that.
So
you cannot defend yourself with a deadly weapon if you're in a fist fight.
Yes, if you're willing. So if you and I decide, like, hey, let's go outside. You said something about, you know, my cousin.
Oh, you have to be a willing participant in a fist fight?
Because if you and I were like, okay, put him up, buddy. Yeah. Right? And then, like, I take a swing, you take a swing. And then, like, I'm losing that fight and I pull out a knife. I'm not justified.
Got it. But if you start beating on me, and I'm not a willful participant.
Yeah, if you start beating on me, or if I start just like wailing on you because of how big I am compared to you.
Yeah. No. I would recommend that you not try to hit me.
No, I would. I don't want to hit you. But if you, but if I start wailing on you and you are in fear for your life, and then you pull out a knife, they're saying that that's different than if you and I say, like, okay, you're a jerk. No, you're a jerk, and then we start fighting.
Well, the story could have been over if the motion went the other way. So, this continues.
This will very much continue. We have a lot here that I'm going to put in a story, which you'll be able to read on midbaynews.com or on Channel 3 News the day after I post it. So just stay tuned for that. And
was that a shot at them?
I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. All right.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Anyway, next up, the city of Niceville has a financial audit that just came back in.
Yeah.
Warren Averett.
We did good, I think.
Put its financial findings, no material findings, which basically means good job.
Yeah.
They had a couple of like this and that and theirs, but the big takeaways that I got from it, just looking over the charts and the graphs and stuff that I'll give to you guys on midbaynews.com when I find a moment to can write a story around here. Is that our investments have gotten much stronger. Our return on investments have gotten much stronger. So over the last 10 years, our investment portfolio returned anywhere between 0.2 and 1.5.
That's bad.
And then in 2023, when David Deitch took over as city manager, we saw it go from, I think it was 0.4% was 2022 or 3. Yeah. And then, 2022. And then 23, it went to 1.5%. And then this past fiscal year, it went to 3.9%.
Yeah.
So significant
trend line. Yeah. I mean, you got to give David some love. I mean, I know the public's been pummeling him over pause and pummeling him over going to Taiwan.
Oh, I'm going to give a long talk about Taiwan.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But like, in public opinion, he's been kind of like raked over the coals for at least those two items. And, but to pass a financial audit and then to show that the investments are trending in the right direction, I mean, got to give him some props.
Yeah. So, overall financial health, more money coming in. They didn't have to pull any money from the, enterprise fund. So the trash fund reserves, that's where they had been pulling money from to break even because the state of Florida mandates every city have a balanced budget. Yeah, and so in the past, that meant that they were taking money away from reserves essentially for trash and water and sewer and stuff like that to make the books balance.
And based on your story about Val P setting up their fire department, maybe we will be spending less Niceville resources on Val P.
Hopefully we'll be spending none.
That's what I'm saying.
but these
It'll always be some. It'll always be some.
yeah.
They'll borrow something.
Indeed, there's back and forth on the, like, let's borrow your water truck. We'll let you borrow.
Yeah, of course.
Whatever.
I mean that's another reason why maybe we shouldn't have two jurisdictions.
Indeed.
When we both have to buy the same things.
Indeed.
Duplicative. But anyway, well done, Niceville, on passing your financial audit. People should be happy about that.
And then I guess we can move right into Taiwan if you'd like.
I mean, we can talk about Taiwan. I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it.
I think it's not a big deal at all, and here's why.
Okay. Sister cities are important.
Sister cities are very important, I would argue.
Okay.
And here's why.
Give me the rundown.
So, first thing I'm going to do is the economics of this. If we have a roughly $50-60 million budget for the city of Niceville, all in for everything, right?
Yeah.
And we spend $1,000 on a plane ticket, do you know what that works out for the median income in Niceville?
It's minuscule.
It is $1.60.
Yeah.
It is $1.60.
But people will argue and say they don't want to spend $1.60.
And that's fine. And that's fine. But here's what we get in return for that $1.60.
Yeah.
We have the potential to partner with a city that has 4 million people, that is in a geopolitically unstable environment, that is looking for places to put other investments, so that if, I don't know, maybe the Chinese invade in 2027, like everybody's talking about, they have...
Everybody's talking about a Chinese invasion?
In 2027 to Taiwan?
Oh, Taiwan.
No, not of America. I'm sorry. No,
what are you talking about? Okay, I'm caught up now. Sorry.
So if I'm the city leadership in New Taipei City,
yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, well, I have a lot of people here and we have a lot of technology here.
Sure.
And gee whiz, wouldn't it be great if we had a sister city that really cares deeply about us, and therefore we don't fall off the front lines of some pages, the front pages in places, right? So that's part one.
All right.
Part two is that there's a huge economic advantage to having a sister city, because those relationships grow stronger over time as people transit, travel, and build economic relationships. Because the first place that New Taipei City is going to look in America for investment opportunities is probably going to be its sister city.
So, but do we want Taiwan's money?
Of course we do.
Oh, okay.
It's fungible, isn't it?
Listen, I think like some of the smaller stuff is just as important. So, what if, even if he just went over there to set up a program where we switched high school kids?
Great. Right? That's also a wonderful plus.
I think that would be huge. I think stuff like that is more apt to happen rather than exchange of funds.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Yeah. I think those are things that will definitely happen if we do that. My point is that on top of those things, it's almost like buying a relatively, not quite a lottery ticket, but like something that we are putting our names in the hats to be economically interwoven with a place that has a lot to offer.
I think you and I could sit here and argue over the pros and cons of it, but I think fundamentally what needs to happen is probably the city needs to do a slightly better job of telling its constituents why they think it's important.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that part is what's missing. Like, it might give people more fodder to argue for why David shouldn't go over there, but I think the constituency wants to know more. And there seems to be a little bit of an information vacuum. Unless you go and look up, what are the purpose of sister cities, but most people don't even go that far.
And that is on our article. So
yeah. So go to midbaynews.com and check it out.
It's basically what are the exchanges and stuff like that.
But I guess what you and I are saying is like, let the guy go and let's hear the results.
Well, even if you're a fiscal hawk, right? Like, is this the hill?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Let's talk about how Freeport wants to kill its own mosquitoes.
So Freeport has decided to bring its mosquito killing in-house.
I think it's really smart because who's currently doing it? The county.
Walton County.
Yep.
And
Walton County's doing it.
According to the city fathers, who are actually, I believe, 2 women. So I don't know. City fathers is just such a fun term.
City mothers?
City mothers, city people.
Freeport was founded by 2 women?
No. Like the 2 city council people that are talking about it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But they have essentially said, like, hey, we took a look at the books, and Walton County is charging us $500,000 to do mosquito control, and we're pretty sure we could do it for 60% of that. And the other people in the city of Freeport, the city council, were like, hey, that seems pretty good.
Yeah, we could use our money somewhere else. I get it. Like, I think for the most part, I believe if it could be done at a lower level of government, it should be done there. Mm-hmm. Right? Just like we don't want the federal government to tell the state of Florida what to do. We don't want to be overcharged at the county level for something that the city can do on its own. So if Freeport can do it on its own for cheaper, they should absolutely do it on its own.
So that's part one of this argument they made, is basically, we think we can do it for a lot less money.
Yeah.
They said, Walton County has all these extra positions.
Right.
We wouldn't have that. We would have a dude in a truck and a mosquito blower.
Yep.
And the other argument that they made is that they don't like the way that the tax is assessed.
Yeah, the fiscal model for how it's assessed is a little bonkers.
Yeah. So instead of doing it by roof, the county does it by property value, which
Right.
really helps the people up in Defuniak Springs, because it's not a county-wide mosquito district. There's actually a South Walton mosquito district that kind of does its own thing.
Got it.
So everything north of the bay is under Walton County Board of County Commissioners mosquito district. And so the richest or the highest value homes are still in Freeport as opposed to Defuniak.
Right.
And so Freeport ends up paying a disproportionate amount for mosquito control.
Right.
And the people in Freeport were like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, we can do this. My 3,000 square foot house should cost the same to kill the mosquitoes as a 3,000 square foot house in the northern part of the county.
Well, they're saying that, that's what they're saying. You're correct. I was wrong. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. But yeah. So anyway, it's in effect. So they're going to stay with Walton County, I think, through the rest of the fiscal year, and they're going to spin up. But they say it's going to cost like $200,000 to set up, and then it's $40,000 a year for bug juice, and then they got to hire somebody.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I mean, they'll recoup their investment fairly quickly, and they'll be in the black, and they can use the money for something else.
And then let's see, we talked Freeport, City Financial Audit, and now
the beach. Let's
beach.
talk about the beach. Oh man,
friends, Romans, countrymen. Let's talk about the hottest topic to come out of Walton County since probably the fact that there's a beach. I don't know.
It affects Florida in general.
But
all of it.
So today, Monday, as we're recording this, the what is it called? There's a committee whose name I forget now, which is just
at the state level.
At the state level, that is composed of state senators who are going to determine whether or not the Senate Bill 1622 can move forward to the general Senate floor for a vote. Senate Bill 1622 reverses a bill that was passed in 2018, Senate Bill 631, that restricted access to the beaches, the dry sandy beaches in Walton County, and only Walton County because of the way they structured it. And this bill had to go in front of this committee, whose name I still forget, but is led by Senator Kathleen Passidomo, who used to be the Senate president and was the co-author, I believe, of this bill with a Democrat from South Florida back in 2018 that made these restrictions.
Yeah, so right now in Walton County, landowners can restrict the public from being on the sand in front of their property.
Yes, to a certain level. So.
Yes.
Wet beach, wet sand is always a go area, but the mean high water line is where that right ends.
Right.
And a bunch of people, including former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who was kind of like the leader of the charge on this bill and like put levers into place, stuff like that. First, they bought their land fee simple all the way up to like the mean high water line.
Right.
It was like step one. They did it real quiet, is kind of how it's described. And then once they had that title in hand, they said, hey, you're on my beach, get off my beach.
Right. Yeah, and that was a huge deal here. And there were lots of like neighborhood people that were going out with video cameras, and there were people hiring private security to keep people off the beaches. And so, yeah, this returns the power to the people so that they can have more access to beachfront.
Well, so talking to local realtors about this, talking to other people with interest in Tallahassee, they were talking about how tourism, and one lady who owns a vacation rental home said that her tourism revenue for her vacation rental, her bookings are down 65% this year. And they were down 50% last year. Now, that's one person.
Well,
right? And so, but the data does show an 11% drop overall in Walton County is what the Board of County Commissioners is saying.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. I think, actually, I know from a very close friend of mine who I asked this question to yesterday that the luxury high-end part of the rental market is getting hit fairly hard. People are looking for, more, not quantity or quality, but like just a better value. And so there's certain edges of the vacation rental market that are doing actually better than last year. but the luxury part is taking.
So you're telling me you don't want to pay $20,000 to have somebody yell at you at the beach?
Yeah. I mean, there's less people who want to pay $20,000 to rent a place per week than there were last year.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But, this issue is an interesting one because, when you buy a piece of property and you expect to be able to control it and own it and be able to do with it what you please, and then all of a sudden the state legislature changes that, the value of your property does change.
Oh, it's going to fluctuate. So there's about 1,200 parcels that are on the beach or on the Gulf.
Yeah.
And I think some 95 of them have approved people to walk on their private land. It's not a big deal.
Right.
The other 1,100 or so have not.
Right.
And what this law back in 2018 did is basically said to the county, you need to sue every single parcel for this right. And that would have bankrupted the county. And so this bill would make it the opposite, where the property owner has to sue the county to restrict access.
It'll be interesting to see. We'll find out more by the end of today. Yeah. Not soon enough for this episode of Paul and Saul, but maybe we'll talk about it next week again.
It's fun because it's interesting because everybody believes in property rights. Not everybody, but most people are like, hey, if it's your property, you should be able to do what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
But everybody also believes we have certain access to certain things. And it's kind of been, I was telling you about what Nathan Boyles had told me, however long ago that was.
About the Romans.
About the Roman fishing nets and how the fishermen would put their nets up to dry. And that's been a time-honored tradition for more than 2,500 years.
Right.
Right. And so it's like when two rights clash, who ends up winning?
It absolutely is two rights. It's super interesting. And, we're going to find out if the pendulum swings the other way.
Well, that's everything on our docket for this week here at Paul and Saul. You got anything else? Any thoughts?
No. Do we have anything up and coming we need to talk about?
Man.
I don't think so.
We got Walton County commissions coming up. We got May, Memorial Day. I can't really think. I'm sure that I'm missing something huge.
Mother's Day is coming up.
Mother's Day. Don't forget Mother's Day.
For Mother's Day. We'll talk about that. All right. That's it. Be nice, Niceville.
You heard, man.
Yeah.
We did it, guys.
We did it.
How long was that? 20 minutes? Felt like it was longer. It's good. Bye, guys.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Somebody send me more hats.